Foot Clan, now is the time. Now is the time. You got to go check out fantasychamps.com, the only place you need to go for any of your fantasy football hardware. We're talking perennial trophies. They got this crystal trophy that you can get for your league. My goodness, this thing is amazing. It's beautiful. There's nothing like it out there on the market. Only Fantasy Champs has this bad dog. They got fantasy belts, incredible rings. They got custom-made fantasy jerseys so you can rock your team, your number. Check it out. So much more. fantasychamps.com. And when you check out, use the promo code BALLERS. You're going to save a little bit of quiche.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. This is the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I am your host, Mike the Fantasy Hitman Wright. I'm joined to my right by the body, by the corpse, by the rotting flesh that is Jason Moore.
Okay.
So, Jason.
What?
Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's just get it out of the way. Did you win?
Yes. I won in the Listener League. I won in Scotty Fishbowl. I won in the
Dynasty
League. I won in our Fantasy Pros Invitational. And I have come to realize only by living this life that none of that matters at all to me. Like, I would, yes, I want to win in all of those leagues. Good is better than bad. But I don't care.
Better than bad is good.
I am now, my miraculous team that was just unbeatable is somehow, some way, 0-5.
So you scored, I believe, the third or fourth highest points.
Yes,
on
yes,
the week.
I did. I had a very nice week. I made a trade for Big Ben and Antonio Brown to scrape and claw my win. Dropped RSJ at the last minute, picked up Austin Hooper. Everything was correct.
Yeah, you did. I think you got to at least take solace in that fact.
I take no solace in that fact.
You did everything you possibly could have to improve your team. You made all the right start sits. It was just one of those weeks that's part of fantasy football. It was a bad beat.
Yeah, went up against Odell Beckham throwing touchdowns and James Conner. And, of course, Drew Brees. Congratulations, Drew.
We'll get into that.
Why don't you go on bye now? Why don't you take this next week off? But not this past week. Thank you for your incredible performance.
On today's show, we're going to be talking waivers. We're
crushing my soul.
We're going to be talking quarterback streamers. If you'd like to follow the show, check us out on YouTube. Hey, beautiful people on YouTube. YouTube.com/TheFantasyFootballers. On Twitter, @TheFFBallers, @FFHitman. If you want to see Jason, if you want to check in and just give him a hey, man, keep your chin up.
Can send flowers to
@JasonFFL. Want to remind everyone that we do have a really cool giveaway going on. FootClanGiveaway.com. We're giving away a Corey Davis jersey, a championship belt from our buddies at Fantasy Champs. Free to enter. Go check that out. Let's get into the Monday night recap. What a game it was for one of the teams.
Yes, one team had a blast.
One team showed up. That was the home team, the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees, home in the dome, chasing history. We thought we're pretty confident that Drew Brees is going to get there. And the history, if you missed out, was Drew Brees chasing to become the leading passing yard holder in all time.
All of history.
All of history.
Did you see the Peyton Manning video?
I fast-forwarded through it. I did not get to see it.
It was great.
Was he like, hey, it's me, Peyton Manning?
Yeah. He's cutting tomatoes, and someone tells him that the record was broken, and it's funny. Just go watch.
Did he actually smash the tomatoes?
No, that would have been good.
Oh, that would have been way better.
It's good.
So he's just like, oh, congratulations. But on the inside, he feels like you feel right now.
Oh, he couldn't feel this bad.
Imagine your all-time passing record that you thought would never be broken.
Doesn't come close.
To your
Doesn't come close to my 0-5 heart.
So Drew Brees, 363 yards, 3 scores, 2 long bombs to Tre'Quan Smith. And so that's a pretty big story. The bigger fantasy story, though, that people are going to want to know because my timeline was explosivo.
Alvin
Kamara versus Mark Ingram. What happened?
Nothing happened.
Something happened because Alvin Kamara was limited to 9 total touches.
Here's what happened. The game ended 43-19, and I don't know that it was that close. Now, Kamara lost some work on the ground, certainly, but it was really the fact that they did not. Yeah, but it was the fact that they did not need him at all through the air, where he has been capitalizing, 14 targets in a single game, things like that. I mean, the Redskins had 2 weeks to plan for the New Orleans Saints defense that has been not good, and they forgot all of their plans at home, and they're like, crap, I really came up with a good game plan, but we forgot it. We're just going to wing it.
Well, that's what happens when you draw your plan in the sand.
No, Alvin Kamara is great. Look, if an owner is worried.
Trust me.
Oh, yes.
They're out there, and they are.
You go trade for Alvin Kamara right now. I would happily. Look, it's not like Alvin Kamara last year, when he was the number 3 running back in fantasy football, didn't have Mark Ingram for every single game. Both of these guys are RB1s from this week forward.
I can agree with that. My take is Alvin Kamara is still great. He's still going to be elite for fantasy football. But if you thought his performance through the first 4 weeks was going to be the status quo with Mark Ingram coming back, you were fooling yourself. You knew that Mark Ingram was going to get touches. You knew that this was possible. So just hold tight. There are better days coming for Alvin Kamara. Not next week because he's on bye. Maybe you can leverage that. Maybe you can go to the Alvin Kamara owner and say, look, I know you're tilting. He's not even playing next week. I will take him off your hands.
If you're doing that, though, you need to buy him very low. Yeah,
I don't think you need to buy him. You can absorb the 1 week.
Yes, or you need to be in a great position as a team already. You're 3-2 at least. Because it's really hard.
You know what you
to
do?
Trade for someone coming into their bye week.
Trade David Johnson for Alvin Kamara. Would you do that?
In a heartbeat. I would absolutely.
Might want to try that out. Just saying, I think that could probably – you might be able to pull that off.
The problem is, again, if you're the David Johnson owner, you might be more 1-4 or 2-3 and then trading for a guy on a bye week.
Fair point.
Don't do it in a vacuum. Look at your team. Make a wise decision. You're the Foot Clan. You're smart.
The ball was spread around tremendously by Drew Brees. No one really stood out. I mean, Tre'Quan Smith was the winner of the big night, but only 3 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Michael Thomas came plummeting back to earth, only 4 for 74, which is still a good game.
Yeah,
but you want 8 receptions from Michael Thomas, and you only got 4. Cam Meredith, 5 for 71. What do we do with Cam Meredith? Now I know Ted Ginn was out, but I think that when Ted Ginn comes back, that hurts Tre'Quan Smith far more than Cameron Meredith. So let's say you picked up Cam Meredith. He's got the bye week. Are you trying to hold on to him, or are you even stashing him in this waiver period?
No, I would not be. I don't find any reason. Like, I think he's a good player. Congrats if you happen to start him and you got work out of him last night. But you don't hold You don't hold wide receiver 3 who might, for his own team even, who might turn out to be something good through a bye week. I mean, you don't cut him for no reason. I'm fine to hold him, but there are just so many quality wide receivers usually on the waiver wire that to hold him through the bye week, if you need to make a move, if you need to cut Cam Meredith to pick up a running back or a tight end or whatever because of other needs on your team, then don't hesitate. Sure.
Over on the Washington side of the ball, it It was a rough night for Washington. No one really got anything going. Jordan Reed, 1 reception, was also not on the field. Vernon Davis was there all the time.
Only 2
What happened?
Yeah, but Vernon Davis there all the time with his 2 receptions for 15 yards. Honestly, truly, Alex Smith was terrible.
Yes, he was very, very bad.
He was just, I mean, as bad as it gets. 23 for 39, 275 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. There was not a single player that performed well. I mean, nobody across the board. Adrian Peterson, people were expecting huge things. Had his shoulder, I believe, come out of the socket where MRI will confirm, but that's the...
Yeah, Peterson got banged up and Chris Thompson got banged up. We're going to talk about Capri Bibbs, but real quick, Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis, floppy toes, sturdy toes. Who do you want on your team?
I definitely still want Jordan Reed.
Okay. And is there anything else we really need to talk about from this game? Josh Doxson was inactive, par for the course.
Yeah, I think people are going to say, oh, should I pick up Tre'Quan Smith? And no. Because he was replacing Ted Ginn. They're going into their bye. That's another week for Ginn to heal up. When they come back out of the bye, more than likely Ginn will be back in that role. Tre'Quan's someone you should keep an eye on. You should make sure that you don't forget about this great performance because he will eventually take over the Ted Ginn role, but I don't think it happens coming out of the bye.
All right, let's talk about some news.
News and notes from around the league.
Big news coming out of Philadelphia yesterday. Running back Jay Ajayi has been placed on injured reserve with a torn ACL?
Yeah, I know. Wait, it's the back. It's the back, right? Or it's the degenerative knee, right? No, he tore an ACL in addition to everything else. Goodness.
Now, we will be highlighting the running backs for Philadelphia, Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, Darren Sproles, Josh Adams. We'll give our thoughts on that in just a little bit. There is the update to the Eagles, though, that they are at least saying out loud they're not pursuing Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, there's no way they would.
I completely agree. Well, Twitter was abuzz. Twitter was a flitter last night thinking, oh, Le'Veon Bell, let's go to the Eagles. It makes no sense for Philadelphia to give up anything of worth for Le'Veon Bell. They do not have cap room for him next year to break the bank, and he's a rental. There's no guarantee you're going to get him next year.
It would make no doggone sense at all, and it would be very anti-Eagles. I mean, the Eagles as an organization,
they traded for Ajayi,
but they don't pay. They don't pay up for running backs. It's not a matter of would they trade for a running back. It's a matter of would they pay the $7+ million for the rest of this year as a rental for Le'Veon Bell. No.
You know who I think would be very interesting in green next year? That's Tevin Coleman. Won't shock me if he ends up in Philadelphia. Coach Kyle Shanahan says Matt Breida will not practice Thursday and is doubtful to play.
Yeah, there were I believe they are they Monday Night Football?
Yes.
So he's got a little bit extra time to recover. Reports where he has not been ruled out. He could possibly play Monday night.
Stop.
It's not
just
happening.
rule the dude out.
Yeah, it's not happening. Calling it now, Matt Breida is not playing on Monday Night Football. So prepare for that and don't get your hopes up with all these reports saying things to the contrary.
The reason why he has not been ruled out is the MRI on his ankle revealed it was more of a mid-ankle sprain than a high ankle sprain. How many times do we need to see Matt Breida go down with it just in a heap and looks like a season-ending injury? I mean, we're on 3 straight weeks now. Let the dude rest.
He's a smaller back, and he's being used.
Give him some time off. Let him go to the beach.
I don't know that I would ship him to the beach. I would probably still keep him around.
You don't have to ship him. He can take a car.
Well, I'm not putting him in a crate. I'm just saying, figuratively. I'd still want to.
Don't worry, I'll cut you an air hole, Matt.
Oh, thank you.
Here's some straw. Make a bed. Coach Pat Schumer on Monday says Evan Engram has a shot to play this Thursday. Evan Engram, tight end sensation for the New York Giants. They're talking about him running at full speed today at practice, or they're going to try to get him to. We'll talk about him as Well, we can just mention it right now. He's probably not available, but I've seen him dropped in several leagues, including my 12-team money league. He's available. Brooks was talking about he's in a league where he's available. Make sure you look at your waiver wire to see if you can pick up Evan Engram. Greg Olsen says he is expected to play for Week 6. Congratulations to Greg Olsen. We will see. Jaguars placed Austin Seferian-Jenkins on injured reserve. This escalated rapidly from the close of yesterday's show.
We were ending the show, and I mentioned that while Austin Seferian-Jenkins did not perform well, he was only on the field for 24% of snaps dealing with his injury. Niles Paul looked great. So I was like, if they give Austin Seferian-Jenkins a week off, then Niles Paul becomes interesting. And then
they did.
Like, we end the show, and 10 minutes later, it's like, and he's on the injured reserve.
Matt Ryan underwent x-rays on his foot. The x-rays checked out okay. Matt Ryan is good to go. Browns wide receiver Rashard Higgins sprained MCL, expected to miss at least 2 games. That's important information because now they will be forced once again to put Antonio Callaway back into a full allotment of snaps unless they make some kind of move in Cleveland. And
you know who they could use?
Des Bryant?
I was thinking Josh Gordon.
Oh, yeah, him too.
Freaking Browns.
They need Josh Gordon, and the Raiders need Khalil Mack.
And the Dallas Cowboys need Des Bryant.
I mean, people, come on.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at what's happening.
Look at your team before shipping people out.
And this is in here, but I'll read it. Cardinals signed Kendall Wright, wide receiver, formerly of the Vikings. The Cardinals now have 25 slot wide receivers.
That is true.
Cool.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, come on. Come on. Hey, before we jump into the waivers, would like to thank today's sponsor, Pristine Auction. Pristine Auction, the best sports memorabilia site of all time. You're getting steals. You're getting deals. Like a Mike Evans signed Buccaneers jersey, $82. Lo and behold, Mr. Brooksy, our producer extraordinaire, has put Mike Evans up on our wall. A signed Mike Evans jersey.
Where'd we get that,
One
Mike?
of my prized possessions. That one's from the Mike Wright Library. I don't want anyone to ever forget that. That when I leave, Mike Evans comes with me. We got it at pristineauction.com. A Mark Ingram signed Saints jersey, just $71. A Le'Veon Bell signed Steelers Color Rush jersey, just $54. There's hundreds of things, new things up every single day on Pristine Auction. Head over there, make a completely free account, PRISTINE auction.com. When you do, let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you. Free to make your account, free to bid. Check it out. Nothing like it.
And, hey, if you are wanting to go to any live event, be that sporting or music, a concert, whatever the live event is, SeatGeek has your tickets, and they are the best way to buy. You need to get your phones out right now. Go to the App Store, download the SeatGeek app because it is so easy to get tickets. You can be outside the venue if you need to, and just 2 taps. Tap. It's so easy. All of their tickets are fully guaranteed, so you don't have any worries. You don't have to go, man, to a scalper or some crazy nonsense like that. SeatGeek has you covered. They pool in tickets from hundreds of different ticketing sites so that you know you're getting a great price, and they've got a color-coded grid to make it very easy. Best of all, you get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code FOOTBALLERS today. That's promo code FOOTBALLERS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
Put me in, coach.
This is a great waiver week.
Yeah, it's
Finally, we've had a few dumpers,
as they say. Yeah, huge. You know what's super weird about this week is how many quality tight end pickups there are.
I think there's quality at every single position.
Yeah, but I mean, there's never tight ends are just so worthless
Right.
as a whole in fantasy football outside of the top 3 guys, and this week there's just a lot of interesting names worth taking a look. And since there are so many teams that desperately need them, might interest you.
Let's start at the wide receiver position. Mr. Robby Anderson, Mr. Anderson himself, 3 for 123, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. He only played on 51% of the snaps. He ran 15 routes. However, the Jets were straight smoking the Denver Broncos, so that could be more of a result of that. But Sam Darnold Schwarzenegger told Robby to get to the end zone, and he did. He was chucking it deep. Are we interested in stashing Robby Anderson?
So, because of Robby Anderson's talent,
to the waiver wire.
Because of Robby Anderson's talent and deep speed, and the fact that he was actually used that way, I'm a slight bit interested to pick him up. Going back, looking further, at what's going on with Quincy, what's going on with his injury, how are the routes? How
my routes are good. I don't know why he's talking.
Well, I was going to say Sam Darnold's not running any routes.
His routes are so good.
But speaking of Sam Darnold, he has not been accurate down the field.
What? Why you talk like me like this?
I can't look at you when you talk like that. So I still believe that Robby Anderson is it's probably not going to continue happening in the short term for Robby Anderson. I'm willing to pick him up as a flyer. Hold on, see if you're wrong.
Stash.
Yes, he's a stash to me. He's definitely not elevated to the point where I'm confident playing him. Quincy still had 5 targets. The hand issue that was talked about on the broadcast, I still haven't been able to find hardly anything about this. I couldn't find a beat reporter article. Yeah, so he did have a couple drops, a holding penalty. I think it was just a bad game for Quincy, a good game for Robby Anderson. I would still definitely rather have Quincy at this point.
Geronimo Allison is available in nearly half of leagues. Green Bay Packer wide receiver. He did not play from the concussion. If he was dropped, you need to pick up Geronimo. He's been very, very solid for fantasy football. But his teammate, Jason, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's available basically everywhere. He had a great game in his first start. 7 for 68 and 1 on 10 targets. Nearly had a second touchdown as well. Played 95% of the snaps. Gets to play against San Francisco. Are we interested in picking him up?
Yes, 100%. I played him in our listener league this last week because if Geronimo and Cobb are out,
that's the qualification. Let's say though,
if one of them,
only one, yeah, let's say only Cobb is out next week. Then are you interested?
If only Cobb is out, I'm still interested in Valdes-Scantling. He has looked great since preseason. The connection with Aaron Rodgers looks fine, and Aaron Rodgers is, something is weird with the Packers right now. Second half, Aaron Rodgers is looking great. They weren't stopping the Lions at all. So I want the Packers wide receivers. You should want all of the touchdowns that Aaron Rodgers is throwing. You want those on your fantasy team.
You should want them.
You should want those. Each one is worth more points than a not touchdown. And so get those touchdowns. I mean, that's what it's just so it's so stupid, but it's so simple.
Stunning analysis.
I mean, if Aaron Rodgers throws the amount of touchdowns that Aaron Rodgers throws, this is like a 3rd grade math question. Do you want the pieces? Like, yes. Get whoever is on the field. If Cobb is back on the field, get Cobb.
All right, Josh Reynolds, Los Angeles Rams wide receiver, jumped in when Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks were unable to return with a concussion. 2 for 39, had 3 targets. Head coach McVay has talked about Cooks and Cooper Kupp, saying they're progressing well. But so at least he's throwing out positive vibes for his guys. But there's a chance that the Rams are without both of Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp. If that is the instance, do you play Josh Reynolds this weekend?
If both were out, I would absolutely play him. But the problem is you're probably going to have to pick him up today. Put him in today's waivers because someone will probably take a shot. And I don't want to pick him up unless I'm the Cooper Kupp owner. Then I'm willing because
you're trying to handcuff your wide receiver.
Yeah, at that point it's like, okay, if I'm not the Cooper Kupp owner, I don't expect Josh Reynolds to be relevant this week. Like I don't want to touch him because I think the Cooks and Kupp will progress through the concussion protocol and be ready to go. But we don't know that yet. It's too early to really be able to. And unlike other injuries, right? A hamstring or a low ankle or a high ankle, there's kind of a timetable for recovery. But with concussions, there's nothing that you or I can really point to. It's all about how they're progressing through the protocol. So I don't want Josh Reynolds in general.
Keke Coutee has been a sensation for the Houston Texans this past week. 6 receptions, 51 yards, a score, 7 targets. Keke has been on point.
Yeah.
He's been extremely effective for basically his first 2 games of his career. He is serving a very, very large purpose for this Houston Texans offense. Will Fuller did play. That was our one note where Keke had a monster game 2 weeks ago. It was okay. Well, Will Fuller left the game with his injury where he could have gone back in. Weird stuff. But could Keke perform with Will Fuller on the field as well? And the answer, he can.
Yeah.
He can. So Keke Coutee, where is he in your list? Okay, we've talked about Robby, Geronimo, Valdes-Scantling, Reynolds, and Keke. Is Keke at the top, or is he?
Keke would be second behind Green Bay. I want the touchdowns of Green Bay. So Geronimo, Valdez, depending on what is available on your waivers. A lot of times people are always saying, well, how much are you bidding on these guys? And every week I say this. I don't bid more than $5 on a wide receiver because there's
a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Got to go to Starbucks.
Just bid a cup of
virtual cup of coffee. Put those fab dollars in. I'm not spending a waiver priority almost ever on a wide receiver.
There's guys later we're going to talk about that are worth the top priority, in my opinion.
In other positions.
At the other positions,
yes.
And it is not these wide receivers. Antonio Callaway, we mentioned him. Antonio Callaway is obnoxious to have to continue to talk about.
I don't want to talk about him.
The hopes and the dreams that Antonio Callaway could become, but he gets to play the Chargers, he gets to play Tampa Bay, and then he gets to play Pittsburgh.
And
Higgins have to be interested in
Higgins
Callaway.
Is missing time. I mean, yeah, you do. Callaway is a good pickup. It sucks to say that someone, like when you say, oh, this guy's an interesting pickup, pick him up, and then he fails. It really sucks to have to come back again and say, hey, Callaway's an interesting pickup. Pick him up. Because if he fails again, that's like, fool me once.
Well, look, sometimes you pick up a hitchhiker and they're a cool dude, and you guys high five and you share stories, you talk fantasy football. Sometimes you end up in a ditch.
What is the point of this story?
So when you pick up a guy,
okay,
sometimes it fails.
But the problem is if it fails on that analogy,
yeah,
there's no coming back. Once you're in the ditch, you're done. You're done. You don't get to pick up another hitchhiker. So
a fair point.
Right.
Maybe it was a little bit extreme, but I stand by it. I apologize for nothing.
Yeah, no. So I would definitely be interested in Callaway
or Mo Sanu. Mohamed Sanu's had
Sanu
back-to-back
sure.
good games. Gets to play Tampa Bay.
That's
gets to
why.
play the Giants. All right.
That's why it's Tampa Bay. I don't care about the long-term outlook for waiver wire wide receivers generally. I'm looking at who am I picking up to start because I keep my wide receivers very shallow. I want to stash. I've been holding Corey Clement for a while. Now it looks like that pays off.
That paid off.
That paid off big. So for an irrelevant 0-5 team, it's like, oh, great. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
By the way,
maybe I could trade him.
All right, we're gonna roll these next ones into a Killer Instinct combo.
Real quick on Mohamed Sanu,
why are you stopping my Killer Instinct reference, bro?
It was
combo. You're a combo breaker. That's where I should have gone.
There, yeah. It was a low hanging fruit.
Combo breaker.
The truth is, I think Mohamed Sanu might be my #1 pickup. If you need a start at the position, going against Tampa Bay, I mean, I want just like this last week where you're trying to get assets in the Falcons Steelers game. I want assets in the Falcons Buccaneers game, and Mohamed Sanu he's had 3 productive weeks in a row, and he's got a matchup that I'm willing to put him in. I mean,
all right.
Would you rather start Callaway or Mohamed Sanu this week?
Sanu.
Right. Reynolds, you don't know if he's going to be able to play. Robbie Anderson or Sanu?
Sanu.
So, I mean, it's just one of those, like, if you have to plug a guy in for 1 week, I think he's got the best match.
Even with the concussion problem, Geronimo is still my #1 wide receiver pickup so far.
Fair. I would rather, if Geronimo's playing, I would rather play Geronimo over Sanu.
All right, now to the combo, which you so rudely interrupted. Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, weekly check-in with these fellas. Do we have any interest? Chester Rogers came through with a big game because Andrew Luck,
the garbage man can.
He got it done in garbage time. And Chester Rogers got 11 targets. The Jacksonville crew, they all had a reasonable game. Cole, 4 for 70. Moncrief, 6 for 76 with 15 targets.
Yeah.
15 targets
15
for
targets,
Moncrief.
6 receptions. Moncrief doing Moncrief things.
Well, yeah, that's what but he got 15 targets.
Hey, good news.
Dede had a fine game as well. Are we interested in any of these characters?
No, I mean, the truth is I like Keelan Cole the best of them. He's still getting volume. He gets shots to go deep. I like his talent. I like him the most, but I don't really want to play the Russian roulette anymore with the Jags wide receivers. It's an Amari Cooper situation. It's not good. It's not healthy for your fantasy team. You're just guessing. You're throwing out a player into your lineup that you can't possibly know. Oh, there's no like matchup data, cornerback data, health of Leonard Fournette, or there's no predictable metric that I've seen as to the guessing game of who's going to end up getting the targets today. And so with that being true, I don't want any of these guys.
Fair. And then we got to mention them but they're on bye now. The Saints wide receivers, Cam Meredith, Tre'quan. Are you stashing either of those players over these wide receivers?
Not through a bye. Not through a bye. They're not, just some unbelievable asset sitting on the waiver worth taking a bye week on. I would, if T.Y. Hilton misses another week, which I don't expect because they were on a short week coming off of an overtime game, then they played Thursday Night Football. We knew Hilton was going to be out. But if Hilton misses another week, Chester Rogers is interesting.
Moving to the running back position, this is where it's going to get a little bit interesting. Alfred Morris is available in a little bit more than half of leagues. We talked about the health of Matt Breida. Alfred Morris, 18 carries, 61 yards, 5 targets for Mr. Morris. C.J. Beathard does not care if your running back is known for being a pass catcher or not, albeit Carlos Hyde or Alfred Morris. He's going to get targets. How interested should people be in Alfred Morris?
He's playing in Lambeau against Green Bay. I think that if you need a start, which a lot of people do at the running back position, there are several pickups this week where I think you can pick him up and start at running back. That just does not usually happen where there's a handful. Alfred Morris is one of them. I don't believe that he is my favorite of the list, and we don't know yet because the injury to Breida happened mid-game. So this was not a game plan situation. They just had to keep going with what they had. But it's interesting if you're in a full-point PPR league. Kyle Juszczyk.
Yes.
Look.
Juszczyk season has begun.
Mike and I have always been pretty big fans of Juszczyk. He's a fun back to watch. He's terrible as a touchdown vulture over time. But when you get to start him, in a PPR league, he is the pass catcher.
7 targets, 6 receptions for 75 yards. Granted, it was
the garbage man
full-on comeback mode for the San Francisco 49ers.
But won't it be again?
Against Green Bay?
Yeah.
It certainly could
Green
be.
Bay.
I mean, it would be a glory play for sure.
I love those, man. If you need a spot start and you don't want to, pay up or you get outbid and then you get a $0 bid on Kyle Juszczyk, throw him in your flex, bam. You get
win.
I played Kyle Juszczyk on you.
You get +5 courage points.
Yes.
Awarded to your character. The Houston Texans, Alfred Blue, bad on the ground, but good through the air. 20 for 46, 8 for 73 through the air. Lamar Miller was active, but he was placed into an emergency role. I don't know why you do this.
You do this because they don't have the running back depth. It was really
Fair.
one of those situations where it was identical to when Marcus Mariota was active as the backup. They didn't want to bring in another quarterback.
For the running back position, let's be honest. If Alfred Blue or something were to happen and he goes down, and you have Lamar Miller, who's beat up enough that you don't want him to play football, just play without a running back.
Seriously, spread it wide, go to town.
Yeah, 5 wide. Just go to just have some fun.
I think they would rather protect Deshaun Watson and not say, hey, pass rush, go get him every play.
Fair enough. But so Alfred Blue, you interested in picking him up? I mean, Lamar Miller, if he was active in an emergency role, you got to expect that he's back to play next week.
Yeah, I do think he would be back. So Alfred Blue is a guy who was probably picked up this last week when the news was breaking. I would hold on to him. If he's free, I would gladly pick him up for a $0 bid or not waste my waiver wire priority and stash him, because if Lamar Miller is out again, then it's a good situation. I mean, Buffalo's defense has turned around lately.
Yeah, Buffalo, then Jacksonville.
So it's not the best.
No, not the best match
stretch. And this is really 1 week because Deonta Foreman should be back for the Jacksonville game, I believe. That's week 7.
We'll see. He's coming back off of the pup, but all the news has been very positive. He's returning from an Achilles injury, so we shall see.
The reason that the Texans did not want to promote a running back, sign a running back, do one of those things, and Lamar Miller was active in that emergency role is Deonta Foreman. They see him, they want him back, they're getting him soon. I think they're excited. I would almost rather pick up Deonta Foreman, but I think you can probably wait 1 more week.
Mike Davis, Seattle running back, widely available, had a pretty good game. 12 carries, 68 yards, and a score. Last week was the Mike Davis show. It was the Chris Carson show. Rashad Penny got the boot. Are we interested in Mike Davis at all? Gets to play Oakland.
Mildly interested because there are plenty of running back by committees that get enough work to where you can start him. And that appears to be what's happening with Mike Davis. There's no reason to give him less work when he's been great the last 2 weeks, but he's still the backup. And so with all of the players you could grab, I mean, we haven't even we haven't even talked about the #1 pickup, which is the Eagles backfield to me.
I'm the host of the show.
I know.
I'm running the roadmap.
I'm criticizing.
We'll get there.
I'm just saying I'm not picking up Mike Davis over running backs who are the clear starter.
Fine, Mr. Snooty Pants. Let's get into the Philadelphia Eagles. Jay Ajayi on the IR. Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, Darren Sproles, potentially Josh Adams.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, what do you do? How are you navigating the waters of the Philadelphia Eagles running back?
So this last week I had just mentioned I picked up Corey Clement because I didn't need to start then.
Where's my button? Congratulations, Mr. Toot Toot.
Thank you.
You should have picked him up too, because I knew that Ajayi was going on the IR.
Well, honestly, we've been saying forever he's going to end up on the IR.
Fair enough.
But we just didn't think it would be for an ACL. It was going to be for the back. Wendell Smallwood is healthy, so if you want to put him first, great. But Corey Clement is practicing in full now, so he has been held out. And
they're playing on Thursday,
right? But
this Thursday against the Giants.
If he's practicing in full, then he's ready to go. That's how I view it. So unless a re-injury happens, I believe that Corey Clement will be the starter. He's just so much better than Wendell Smallwood, but Wendell Smallwood's been fine. There's a great offense, a great offensive line, and he can be used in a passing role or as first and second down back. So if it turns out that they wait another week on Corey Clement because of the short week, then Wendell Smallwood, honestly, both of these guys are going to get work. Both of these guys.
You won't know if Corey's going to play for sure by the time the waiver period will run.
Right. But
will you spend a #1 priority on either of these guys?
Yes.
Let's say they're both there.
Corey Clement.
Okay.
Because over the course of the season, Jay Ajayi's injury is not like Matt Breida's.
Right.
Jay Ajayi's done. The season is over for Jay Ajayi. So that means over the course of the next 7-8 weeks before fantasy playoffs hit, you have a starting running back for a great offense on a great offensive line, and I believe that will be Corey Clement.
It is a running back by committee. It will remain a running back by committee. So let's talk Fab real quick. Are you spending the same on both of these guys in a fab situation? Okay, where's your high end for Corey Clement?
I feel like Corey Clement is, a $35, 35% of your budget type of buy, and then maybe a quarter on Wendell Smallwood, or it just depends on your needs at running back. And the truth is, there's other options here if you need to start ahead of Wendell Smallwood.
Capri Bibbs also needs to at least be mentioned. I was going to say an honorable mention, but no, it's not really an honorable mention. He's here. He might be the last man standing for Washington. If Chris Thompson is banged up, if Adrian Peterson cannot play, gets to play Carolina. Not very excited for that. Capri Bibbs is not someone I'm spending money on or any sort of priority on. Just later on in the week, if you're scrounging the wire, like, oh crap, I need a running back. Yeah, Capri Bibbs, he'll do.
And I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree only because Adrian Peterson will be the starting running back.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what the MRI shows. The MRI is going to come back. It's going to say it was bad. Adrian Peterson is going to play. He's going to play through it. He's going to play poorly, and I don't want any part of it.
Fair enough. Moving on to the tight end position. A reminder, again, real quick, Evan Engram, not very available, but we've seen leagues where he is.
Honestly, it's funny because a lot of times we talk about people that aren't available in the majority of leagues. People are like, this guy's never in my league. I'm in a competitive league. It's actually the really hyper-competitive leagues where Evan Engram might be available because people had to make moves. They had to make a drop. They couldn't stash him because everybody is going nuts on the waiver wire, grabbing all the good players. So you got to drop the guy that's not playing. Definitely check out the waivers for Evan Engram because he is in the Kyle Rudolph Tier 2. He's not one of the top 3 guys, but he's actually reliable week in and week out once he's on the field.
The concern for Evan Engram is he actually ready to play, or are they just going to kind of have him on the field as a decoy? We don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean,
but you're saying if he's active, you'll pick him up and play him.
Yes, if he's active, I'll play him. I'm not convinced at all that he's going to be active. I realize that the reports are good that he might be able to play this week. If I had to give super early in or out, I would say out. I don't believe Evan Ingram's going to play, so keep that in mind when looking at your priorities. He's probably hold for a week, so you're going to need to roster 2 tight ends.
Main pickups at the position. Cameron Brate, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was on bye. His teammate, O.J. Howard, who was eating into his value, has the knee injury, is expected to miss a few weeks. Cameron Brate is out there, Jason. And O.J. Howard is similar. If you really want to stash a tight end, O.J. Howard, I guess it's okay. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it.
I mean, if you've got an IR spot.
Well, if you have an IR spot, then he's not available to stash because he's already been put in the IR spot.
Possibly. I mean, there's a lot of leagues where when you've got an IR spot, this is just another tip in general. Go search your league for IR-eligible people on waivers.
Like Foreman, like Kenneth Dixon.
Exactly. Foreman, Kenneth Dixon.
That's what I said.
Yes, OJ Howard, all these guys, and pick them up, put them in the IR, and then the next day make another pickup.
But back to Cameron Brate. He has a known rapport with Jameis Winston. When Jameis is in, Cameron Brate has been a touchdown monster. Are you playing Cameron Brate this week with confidence as a tight end 1?
With supreme confidence. I said I want pieces in the Falcons-Buccaneers game this week. I mean, Jameis Winston has always thrown to the tight ends. We've seen Cameron Brate be a tight end 1 before, and that now with O.J. Howard out of the way, he is the only tight end that's going to be catching passes. I love Cameron Brate this week. My absolute favorite pickup this week. If you need a 1-week start.
When you interrupted my roadmap and my flow on the Philadelphia Eagles, I neglected to mention guys that should be picked up. Ronald Jones, Nyheim Hines, they're solid pickups. So I just wanted to remind people about that. You know what Nyheim Hines reminds me of?
Tell me.
Reminds me of Chris Thompson, but it's Chris Thompson's brother who he doesn't bathe and he picks his nose and he doesn't do his hair. He's like a fantasy gross version of Chris Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you just say he's like a poor man's Chris Thompson. Like you can say it that way.
But I didn't want to go with that because that's the cliche thing to say. So
you wanted to say he is a
booger picking version of Chris Thompson.
How uncliche of you, Mike.
This is the kind of stuff you get on the Footballers podcast. You're welcome. Moving back to tight ends, Greg Olsen. Same thing with Evan Engram. He may be available. Sounds like he's going to play. You pick him up. You play him.
Who would you rather play this week, Greg Olsen or Cameron Brate?
That's an excellent question.
That's an easy question. She should not have taken you this long.
It's Cameron Brate for me.
Of course it is.
Okay.
I
like to think through all the variables. I like to think before I speak.
I've never tried that. I've never once thought before opening this mouth.
We are all well aware.
Yeah, I mean, look, Greg Olsen could absolutely have as good a game or better than Cameron Brate. The reason I say it's easy is because the injury risk is always there with Olsen. I said this earlier. I am super willing to pick Greg Olsen up and play him week 1 because, you know, he'll be out there ready to go. He's going to be involved. It's just he carries the chance of re-injury, and the re-injury doesn't happen after the game. You know, the re-injury happens in the middle of your start. So, you know, that was why I would go Brate if I'm looking for a week 1. Now, Greg Olsen has a better chance to be, even though he's got the chance of re-injury, over the course of there's a lot of season left. I think when O.J. Howard comes back, he takes over the primary fantasy value at tight end. So you could make a case for
the Bucs.
Yes, for the Buccaneers. So you could make a case that Greg Olsen is the better pickup if you need someone not just for this week.
Austin Hooper. What? What happened with Austin Hooper? 12 targets, 9 receptions for 77 yards. His snap percentage was about the same. The difference, the routes run. Austin Hooper has been an interesting year for him. Check out these routes run through the weeks. 13, 4, 3.
Those aren't good.
28, 37?
What?
37?
Well, the Falcons, if you remember this last
the garbage man can.
Yes, they were not quite in that game with the Steelers. And so yeah, now this coming week they're at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's an okay matchup, but you cannot expect this. You can't expect what happened because when you're at home and you're facing another team that I you know, we don't expect the Falcons to be in a big hole against the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers will be able to score and keep up and keep the back and forth continuing.
What about a Brig?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he might not be in the hole.
Could the Buccaneers put them in a Brig?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, if it's on a ship.
What about marooned on a desert island?
No, that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever said.
Okay.
But the Brig is good.
Oh.
The Brig could certainly
I should have cut my losses then.
Yeah. No, Austin Hooper is an okay play. He's been involved. He's targeted. He's a talented guy, too. I mean, if you don't remember when he was drafted, he was, you know, he was in the conversation. That was Hunter Henry, right? Was it
Yes.
Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper? Those two guys were the two, you know, watch out for these guys in the future. And he's showed well. But the problem is there's just too many targets there.
I would be more interested in Jacksonville Jaguars, Niles Paul.
Really?
Yes, over Austin Hooper. 9 targets this past week. I mean, now, granted, that was also a garbage time. Blake Bortles was trying to bring the team back from a 1,000-point deficit. But Niles Paul is an outrageously athletic guy. Niles Paul was Jordan Reed before Jordan Reed was Jordan Reed.
That's ironic because I feel like Niles Paul was Jordan Reed when Jordan Reed wasn't Jordan Reed because he would always come in when Jordan Reed was injured.
Yes.
And he would be like, oh, they have Jordan Reed still? Did he put on a different number?
Yeah, but he's a great player. He's finally getting an opportunity. He's very interesting to me. One of the top tight end pickups. If you miss out on Brate or Greg Olsen, I think Niles Paul might be my third option of this list.
Yeah, the nice thing about Paul is similar to talking about Ajayi. He's done for the season. This is the situation. Niles Paul will take over that role for us in Seferian-Jenkins because he's gone on IR. He doesn't have a MCL sprain that's 2 to 4 weeks. It's the rest of the way. I still hesitate with Paul for a couple of reasons. One, I don't love the matchup this week at Dallas. I always look at that if I'm picking up a tight end. I care much more about the this week mentality. I'm fine cutting them and streaming them. And then the other thing is, similar to the pass catching options at wide receiver, there's just sometimes it's going to go to Dede, sometimes it's going to go to Keke, sometimes or not. Sometimes it probably could go
that
with
the way that Blake plays.
But yeah, I mean the wide receivers, it's just and Niles Paul
go with the Keke Dede Juju.
Keke Dede Juju. Yeah, so for those reasons, I'm a little less excited about Niles Paul. CJ
Uzomah?
We got the pronunciation from the Bengals pronunciation guide, but then the actual broadcasters did not
Siciliano said something different.
Uzomah?
Uzomah. CJ Uzi.
Ooh, Uzi.
Ooh, that's dangerous. Fully automatic. 2 receptions on 2 targets. One of them was a nice big old tight end screen. He was featured in the passing game, sort of. I mean, 2 targets is hard to say he's featured, but like they actually drew up plays for him. It wasn't a play broke down and he happened to be open. Tyler Kroft is banged up. CJ Uzomah is a decent pickup and stash. Jeff Swaim, I think Jeff Swaim is very safe. If you want 5 points from your tight end position, then I think Jeff Swaim is your guy.
And I don't think you should want that.
I'm just saying, if that's what you want,
sure.
I'm not going to tell people what they should want.
I'll be the one to tell them. You want remember earlier you want touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers? That's what
you
pick up Jimmy Graham.
Yeah,
Jeff Swaim is okay, but I mean there's still 3 tight ends there. Rico, is, but everybody there is irrelevant. I don't want a single pass catcher for Dallas, and that includes Swaim.
Jeff Swaim here the past 3 weeks, 47 yards, 39 yards and a score, 55 yards. Oh, what am I doing with my life?
How many? Oh! Yeah, well, you can have him because I won't be bidding on him. So congratulations, Mike. You are the proud new owner of Jeff Swaim.
It cost me $0.
Yes.
I like that part.
You'd have to pay me some fab money to take him.
Ben Watson, Nick Vannett, other tight ends that you can keep your eye on. But if you need a tight end, we've focused. You need Cameron Brate. You need Greg Olsen.
I just want to circle back one more time to CJ Uzi. Because if Tyler Kroft is gone, because he left the game a little bit, foot injury, I believe.
What about CJ Ooze?
I like the Uzi.
Revenge of the Ooze.
Now that's better.
No. Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, there it
That's
was.
what it is. We got there.
Well, he might be the secret of your
Secret of
fantasy
the Ooze.
The Bengals have used the tight end position for a long time.
I need an Ooze sound.
You're looking at the board like you have one. Like you're searching. Maybe there's an Ooze sound on
I don't know what Andy does over here on the board.
But they've used the tight end position, and they're playing the Steelers, who
my
we just.
mind's telling me no,
Ooh.
but my body's telling me yes.
It's the best I can do.
No, it was great.
Short notice.
That was fantastic. If your body is telling you yes on the Uzi,
Secret of the Ooze.
On the Secret of the Uzi, then he's at home against Pittsburgh. That's who Austin Hooper just put up a lot of yards against. He's interesting.
All right, quarterback pickup. We're going to talk about him in the stream of the week, but Jameis Winston should probably be picked up because he could turn into an every week start.
If you are a listener, then there's a great chance you are a streamer and you're picking up different quarterbacks every week. If that's the case, like let's say you've got Andy Dalton or you've got
you keep Andy Dalton.
No, you keep him, but you pick up Jameis. If you're in a lot of times, I talk to people all the time. They're like, yeah, but my league, everyone rosters 2 quarterbacks and no one's on the wire. And if that's the case, if that's where you're living, I was talking to my cousin yesterday. We went out to a pumpkin patch, and
I'm sorry,
and it was raining. So we just started talking fantasy football. So I'm looking at.
So wait, did the rain bail you out?
No. It just made it muddy.
Oh
yeah.
Oh no.
No.
It was a marsh.
You don't want to go in a corn maze that you can't escape in the rain and the mud.
Is there anything worse than a pumpkin patch?
Yes, I actually enjoy pumpkin patches.
I'm going to talk to the guys over here. Is there anything worse than a pumpkin patch? Well, here's the thing.
They had like makeshift rides.
You went up north, right?
Yes, to where cool weather.
Okay, so here's the difference. The Wright family, I've been dragged to several pumpkin patches, and if you don't know this about Arizona, it's hot. You sweat your bees off.
Oh, it's
in
too
Arizona.
Hot. Nobody should live here,
and it stays that way forever. The weather's actually we have this weird thing going on right now, but generally speaking, right now it's still very hot. So you go to pumpkin patches where there is dust everywhere, just annihilating my weak asthmatic body.
Oh, you got to go in the rain.
And I mean, it's just filthy. And on top of that, you are sweating. You're just dripping with sweat, and you get tricked because in the morning you go, oh, I really need to wear pants today. You needed to wear pants for about 5 minutes, and now you need shorts and a tank top.
Yeah, so I went up north. I had a good time. But he had Andy Dalton, and, he said there's just never a quarterback option. And I'm like,
you don't need it. Andy Dalton, this is why I talked about him. He's great for weeks.
I agree with that, but I would pick up Jameis if you're in one of those leagues because after this next week, he's going to be scooped up. Scoop him up now, and you could stream the position between those two guys. You'll be fine. Well,
we'll get into the streams. Just want to hit on defenses real quick. Green Bay, about half owned, but they get San Francisco. Very interesting. The Cowboys get to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we know that
I got a snake, man.
He's a little bit reckless.
Yeah,
he's a little bit wild.
He's been known to throw an interception or two. And honestly, Dallas's defense, they've looked pretty legit.
Right.
I mean, it's not just them slowing down the clock with Zeke. The pass rush has been there. Their secondary is looking pretty good. So, they're at home. I like the Dallas defense this week for sure.
Miami gets to take on 6-touchdown Trubisky. I don't think Jay Grizz approves of that stream at all, but that's too bad because I like it.
He says pick up Chicago.
Which is also –
I mean, honestly,
look,
if Chicago's out there.
If you could pick up Chicago, but you can't, they're 150% owned. It's ridiculous.
I believe they were 89% owned last I looked. So if you're in the 11%.
You are not. Seattle also gets to take on Oakland. I think that's interesting. But let's move on to our streams of the week.
Full stream ahead.
I'll kick it off real quick. Jameis Winston gets Atlanta. He is my official stream, and we've talked enough about him. But I wanted to take this time to bring up Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's who I was going to talk about as well.
He gets to play the Chargers this week, and the Chargers secondary has been pretty disappointing thus far. And then listen to this. The same way I talked about Andy Dalton with a gleam in my eye when I peered down at the schedule because he's just going to rip off game after game after game against perfect matchups. The Chargers, Tampa Bay, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Atlanta Falcons.
What?
What is happening? This is fantastic. It's
wow.
The way that if you missed out on Dalton, pick up Baker. I mean, Jameis, I would pick him up first because he's just a yardage machine. But Baker Mayfield may find his way into your starting lineup for the next month and a half.
That is an unbelievable stretch of matchups. Just imagine what Josh Gordon can do. Oh wait, that's right. They got rid of him for nothing. Yeah, my stream. I'm staying with Andy Dalton. He had a down game this last week, but he's still great. He's playing against Pittsburgh. He's at home. I think that this will be a fine time for Dalton. The streams aren't as juicy this week at quarterback as they were last week and the last several. I know Jay Grizz is a big fan of 6-touchdown Mitch Trubisky.
Mitch Trubs.
Hey, Jay, you want to water bet that? Okay. We'll do that. Water bet.
What's the water bet? That he won't get 6 touchdowns?
That's right.
Oh, Jay's taking the over?
Oh, and I'm gonna water the heck out of that cardboard bear. I'm gonna waterboard him because he's a board.
When we have to figure out how to water you, how to make it look like a cardboard bear is dumping water on you, that will be the pinnacle of my life.
Well, hope for 6 touchdowns from Mitch Trubs. And then is your official stream Jameis?
My official one is Jameis, but Baker is a close second.
Yeah, he can be Andy's unofficial stream of the week, Baker Mayfield. And Jameis is 100% the guy to stream this week. I would rather stream Jameis than Dalton. He is far more available in your leagues. We talked about this, but what happened is early last week, I went in the show doc for the starts of the week.
Yes.
And edited out the show, we're super early and put in Jameis Winston as my start of the week. You're like, wait, I thought I did that, but you did it for your stream of the week. The point is, this week, pick up Jameis Winston, play him against Atlanta, and hopefully you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I'm in on that matchup. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it. Thank you for tuning into the Fantasy Footballers podcast. As always, check out draft.com/ballers if you're going to play any kind of daily. We will see you tomorrow. We love you all. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.